We knew this NBA season was going to be different, all right? We knew for a bunch of different reasons, because of scheduling, because of COVID protocols, that we were going to see results that we really probably weren't used to seeing, and that's definitely been the case. But the one thing I want to focus on is how different the scoring has been and who's doing that scoring, because we're seeing all sorts of results that are actually surprising. Let's look at shot attempts first. There are 19 players in the NBA that are taking more than 18 shots per game. Go back and look at 5 years ago, that number was 12 players. 10 years ago, that number was 9 players. But what about getting 20? There are 39 players in the NBA averaging 20 or more points per game. Go back 10 years, that was 19 players. So we've doubled guys that are actually getting 20 a game. You know what's even crazier about those shot attempt numbers of who's actually taking 18 or more? Here's 6 names that aren't on that list. James Harden, Trae Young, Devin Booker, D'Angelo Russell, who's never been afraid of a shot that's open or not open, and Paul George. We know that this is a three-point shooting league, but do you really understand the increase in just a very short amount of time? There are 28 teams taking 30 or more threes per game. That's almost the entire league. 28 teams put it up 30 times or more from three. 5 years ago, only 3 teams did that. 3 teams taking 30 or more. The weird thing is no one's really making more. We've been about 36% league average from 3 in this league for about 25 years. There was a weird dip in the late 80s, early 90s, but for the most part, 36% across the board, and we just take way more of them. Free throws are trickling down a little, but more threes, more possessions, quicker pace, and we're starting to see bigger and bigger scoring outputs and other names taking shots that you're not quite sure of. I'm not going to turn this into a huge history lesson here, but let's do a little bit of it. 1959, 1960 Celtics, they led the NBA league-wide, not just league-wide, but forever, all right? The record number of shots for a team in one season is that 59-60 Celtics team. They took 119 shots per game. In today's league, we're around 88, 89. It's trending upwards. The worst was the 98-99 Cavs, who took 71 shots per game. Those are like 2 different sports. 50 shots more for the Celtics 40 years prior to that Cavs team. And we're not that bad now. Nobody's that bad. But that's still an incredibly low number. But it also explains some of those absurd pace numbers that are about rebounds or Oscar Robertson's triple-doubles. Will Chamberlain led the league in rebounding that year with 27 a game. You want to know why? Because everybody missed shots. That's why you look at some of those playoff games, you go, I can't believe, who had 40 or 50 rebounds? Well, they took a lot of shots, and they also missed a lot. Remember Kenny Big Cat Sears? You probably don't. He led the league in field goal percentage around 47%. 47% from the floor. He led the league. Last season, that would have finished 42nd in the NBA. You want to get really weird? All right, let's get weird. The Basketball Association of America, remember that group in the 40s? They merged with the NBA. I think it was like 46 to 49. One year, the league average field goal percentage was 26%. They were shooting with lumber, I believe, leftover lumber. I'd say pressure treated, but I don't think they had it back then. Now let's get back to today's game, because the biggest point that I'm trying to make here is yes, more shots, yes, more pace, not absurd early Celtics pace, but we're not making more threes, we're just taking more threes, and more players are just taking shots, so therefore we have all these 20-point scores. Well, look at some of the names, and yes, part of it is COVID protocol and teams not having full rosters. The scheduling part of this is making it super challenging, just keeping people healthy or even in the proper protocol. So you're going to have nights you're like, what the hell is going on? Steph Curry and Bradley Beal having 60, that makes a lot of sense. Tyrese Maxey taking 33 shots in an NBA game 3 weeks into his career, that's weird. When I looked at some of his scoring numbers on a Sixers broadcast, he's like, last player to do this since Allen Iverson. I like Tyrese Maxey so far. Looks like the Sixers may have hit on this pick. It just seems a little weird that I'm seeing him in a graphic with Allen Iverson. We've had 40-plus from Karis LeVert, which kind of makes sense. Terry Rozier, those guys are scorers. But what I'm telling you is every night I'm watching these games in these blowouts, too, on top of everything else, because those numbers are crazy. I'm seeing guys all over the place taking shots. I'm like, what is going on? Offense is being built around players that I never would have thought before. Do you know who Gabe Vincent is? Stop lying. You don't know who Gabe Vincent is. He took 20 shots in a game for the Miami Heat. Now, granted, the Heat were struggling with their own roster situation, but that's crazy to me. I'm watching the game going, wait, who? He has 20? Some of these guys are like, I'm out there. I got shoes. I'm getting shots up. We've never seen more blowouts. Teams are up or down 30 regularly. And I think a lot of that has to do with you get down, there's no fans in the arena. And I've asked teams about it, and they say, you know, the energy's just so flat. Some of these games get really ugly quick, which also means more shots for other people and other guys on new deals looking to get their points because they're getting them left and right. We're on a league pace right now for the largest margin of victory in NBA history. There are players every night that are taking shots and putting up numbers that I can't believe. We knew this season was going to be different, but I never expected the scoring would be this different.